Alright guys, Tactical here back again today. Hopefully enjoying your Wednesday so far, and today I want to talk about a potentially new weapon meta coming to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It seems like a number of pros have been trying out some different things in Scrims as of late, and of course with the event coming up this weekend in the Minnesota Online Home Series, definitely very possible that we see some of these new weapons appear in the weekend event, especially given some of the GA stuff recently. Maybe other stuff has become more and more viable. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you for 20,000 subscribers, which I believe we just crept over yesterday. Not going to go into too much detail on it today because there will be something special coming for 20k subs very soon indeed, probably next week sometime. But yeah, stay tuned on the channel for that one at the very least. But yeah, thanks to all of you guys who have stopped past on the channel the last couple of years. Have been making these videos, and yeah, well, let's just crack on. First of all, if you haven't joined the Draft Royale yet for Draft Buff, the link will be down below and in the pinned comment as before. My team is on screen right now. It looks kind of nice in my opinion, but I've said that in previous weeks. It hasn't really worked out, has it? So yeah, we'll have to see how things develop. But let's hop into some more things. So yesterday we discussed how Chain potentially going to the ex-Royal Raven Academy. Looks like that is the case. Singularity confirm. They don't want to limit Chain's development and loan him out to that squad, so he's going to be replacing Linny, it seems, on that team that we discussed very briefly yesterday. But let's talk about this potential meta change then, because of course the meta this entire season pretty much has been MP5 and M4. Earlier this season, we talked about the MP7 potentially coming into play. Some pros like Simp were using it at the time, but they kind of figured out that, like, at the end of the day, it's not as good as the MP5, especially with the 10mm attachment on the MP5. Some pros, of course, have talked about the possibility of getting rid of the 10mm attachment on the MP5, which significantly extends the range, but at least as of right now, they've got rid of the Merc foregrip. I'm not sure if that's just across all guns where it's allowed, all other SMGs potentially, or whether it's just the MP5. Maybe it's all SMGs are covered by this kind of gentleman's agreement. But anyway, the MP5 is slightly worse than it was, given you can't use Merc anymore, at least if you're a professional player. But still, MP5 and M4 is pretty much what we've been seeing. However, a couple of new weapons have been introduced recently by a couple of pro players into the meta that we've been seeing in Scrims. Not incredibly widespread, but definitely could switch things up a little bit and see how things go, especially this coming weekend. Because if players are using it in practice right now, only a few days out from the event, yes, we're going to talk about London here, and they're not playing for another couple of weekends, but still, if they're using it in practice, seems to me like there's a great chance that it is going to be pulled out at an official event. Could make things exciting, right? Because I always appreciate when pros try and revolutionize the meta, look into different weapons. Like Clayster's been notorious for it over the years, right? Trying to try out, you know, new weapons, new attachments, try and find something that works and gives his team a competitive advantage. Pretty cool when they can pull something like this off, because of course last year the Fort Worth event, of course the Luminosity one-wing Classic pulled out the Rampart. We're going to talk about that in coming minutes when we get to Classic and the Uzi that he seems to be running right now. So London scrimmed up against the Chicago Huntsman last night. We can see right here, this was the result on the Azure Cave, and of course, it's only practice, doesn't really matter. I think London won the scrims like 5-0 in the hard points or something, but yeah, it's not really a big deal. But Wuskin goes 34 in 17 on this map with the Growl in hand. If you guys have been playing Warzone, watching Warzone, you'll know that the M4 and the Growl, like, are very competitive weapons in that mode. The Growl is especially very, very good assault rifle. Seems like, of course, it is allowed in competitive play, but pros haven't really picked it up. He's decided to give it a go, and obviously seems to be working out here on Azure Cave, right, going double positive on this one. So yeah, keep eyes tuned for that. As Wuskin says here, Growl skin with the eyes emoji. Just wanted to share this clip real quick from Dylan CoD, just absolutely frying in these scrims. And Skrapz with a pretty entertaining follow-up tweet here. Smoking TTP and Scrims is hilarious. How toxic people get over it. Wow, it's just Scrims, boys. Get a grip. Those guys are my friends. We're practicing. Spread some good vibes or good energy is what he's trying to say here, at least. So, yeah, pretty entertaining. Of course, he's doing this just to rile people up, right? At the end of the day, it's Scrims. When it went to the proper event fashion, Chicago beat them 3-1 in the grand finals. Maybe, you know, London continuing to improve in this online environment, right? Now they're getting more and more practice in and potentially switching up the meta. But pretty entertaining from Skrapz to come out of this. Of course, people love doing their replies. They Formal dropped 51 on you. We won the map, bro. But yeah, Formal seems to be coming into a bit of a comfort zone as well in that assault rifle role in these sets of scrims as well. So intriguing to see how both of these teams continue to develop. But really the interesting storyline here, I think, is Wuskin trying out the Growl. Really the only main assault rifle in the game to be using anything other than the M4. at least on certain maps, and maybe that's something that we could see pulled out, because if Wiskin's finding success with it, down the line we might see more teams try and adopt it, as we saw last year with the Rampart being pulled out with Classic. And of course there's also things to talk about with Classic here, him pulling out the Uzi. So we saw when Chicago was scrimming Toronto a couple of days ago now. I'll play a clip on screen for you guys right here, and it's regarding Classic actually pulling this Uzi out on Hackney Yard hardpoint and having some good success with it. Now, if you guys haven't used the Uzi in this game, it actually is pretty nice. I'll play a clip as well from Octane's video he did a while ago where he pulled out the Uzi. I think the key on this weapon is to use the 41 caliber rounds, 32 mag ammunition count, but you get these .41 rounds, and they're actually really, really powerful. And the Uzi looks very nice indeed, and could be a competitor to the MP5, right? Because the MP7 clearly doesn't quite cut it. Maybe the Uzi could be that weapon.
Yeah, no, I used it on stream the other night, and wow, this gun is absolutely ridiculous. The hip fire on it is kind of nuts. Obviously, I'm using Merc foregrip because it's Merc foregrip. Oh my god. It's Merc foregrip, so, you know, you have to use it pretty much. And the thing that makes it, like, crazy good is the 41 AE rounds, or whatever they're called. That's, like, the attachment that makes this gun absolutely busted. So, if you guys are going to make an Uzi class, make sure it's with that. This guy actually left the hill. Wait, what? Stop it. What are you doing? So make sure you guys have the 41 AE round mags on.
So if you guys haven't been following the scene that long, last year in the Black Ops 4 season, we had this Fort Worth event at the start of the year about March time, where Luminosity Gaming won with a team of Formal, Gunless, Classic, Slacked, and John. Now, starting the year, they came top 4 at Vegas. Then they went into this, the initial start of the Pro League, and they had a really poor result. I think they lost to Reciprocity, Red Reserve, UYU, and Gen G. They lost their first 4 matches. Then they go into Fort Worth, and they start getting better, right? They win 3 series on the bounce at the Pro League. They beat OpTic Gaming in one of them. Turn up to Fort Worth, and Classic has pulled out the Rampart into the meta. So the Rampart was like the Scar H, effectively, that you've seen in previous games. Good gun, but no one really thought it was that good. It was great with high caliber 2 or whatever in pubs if you guys use that. But, you know, in competitive play, it wasn't really considered too viable. However, Classic made it very viable. He was very good with the weapon. Classic's been a great player, right? You look at Infinite Warfare, it was fantastic. Like, him and Octane was an unbelievable duo on that LG team at the time. World War II was solid. Of course, Black Ops 4 was his by far the worst season really he's had. He's bounced back quite nicely in this Modern Warfare game. But yeah, in Black Ops 4, he really was pretty underwhelming the entire year. But with this Rampart in hand, he really did step it up to another level. And yes, he only dropped a 0.96 KD right here as you look at. But, you know, Gunless had a 1.27, which is pretty remarkable. But still, that meta change did revolutionize things to a degree. Other teams started to pull it out. They used it for a little bit, and then the Rampart got nerfed, and we went back to a pretty traditional meta with the 2 swords. When the hit scan sword came in, yes, that was used more widely. Maddox's, ICRs, all this stuff. But the Rampart was in the meta for a while. And when Classic introduced the Rampart, of course, that's when Luminosity Gaming won their championship for the year. Now you look at the Toronto team, he's potentially introducing the Uzi to the meta that no other player is using right now. Same with Wiskin really with the Growl, it seems like, and potentially that could have a similar effect, right, you could argue, because when we look at this upcoming weekend, as you can see on screen right here, Ultra, Gorillas, Florida Mutineers, Chicago Huntsmen is one group, and if there's a very achievable group for Toronto to get out of, it's certainly this one, right? Atlanta, Dallas, Minnesota, that's a tough group, but this one, Chicago got to be your favorites to come out of this group. LAG may be slightly improved with this Saints lineup, but not exactly going to be great. I'll discuss my predictions, of course, in a couple of days' time here. Florida, they've made this awakening change, but how good are they going to be? Difficult to say, right? Toronto now have had a lot of good practice with this team. The last event they attended, they came top 4, losing to OpTic Gaming Los Angeles in a Game 5 round 11 fashion on that Arcloth Peak map. If they win that, they make the grand finals. Who knows what happens against Atlanta FaZe, right? They looked very, very good indeed, that tournament. Now you've got Toronto potentially continuing to improve in the online environment. Their team seems to be coming together quite nicely. Classic's been a great player so far this season. Then you've got potentially the Uzi coming into the meta, which could step them up to the next level, right? Because if they can get out of this pool, Huntsman, of course, they've been scrimming, maybe trading maps with a little bit, maybe Huntsman, you know, who knows, right? But if they do make it out of this pool, of course, they're going to have tough matchups going forward from there, you would think in theory, but still, maybe the user can turn things around, and of course, there's only 8 teams here, right? Last year, this Luminosity team won when every single squatter was in attendance, but then you had Gunless in his prime, right? Or at least his prime for that particular season. So, intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Seems like a couple of new weapons are potentially joining the meta. Do you guys think that this will stick? Because we talked about the MP7 in the past. Nothing really came to fruition. Do you guys think the Uzi's good enough to be used in competitive play, or the Growl for that matter, for those of you who have used it? I certainly think there is an argument to be made. And, you know, to some degree that the M4 and the MP5 just get stuck in professional players' mindsets and they don't really try anything else. I do always appreciate players trying to see if other stuff works. And given it's only a few days out from the event and Classics using the Uzi and Scrims, seems pretty likely that someone might try and pull it out at the event, you know, Classic being the most likely candidate to do so. And if he does, then, you know, who knows what we see with the meta going forward, especially given the MP5 is obviously still a very strong gun, still certainly the best SMG, I would argue, but with the Merc foregrip gone, I'm not sure if they're allowed to use the Merc foregrip on the Uzi or whether Classic is using that, but if this whole thing is in the air still about potentially banning the 10mm attachment from the MP5, then if that is the case, I would imagine certainly the Uzi or some other SMG or something comes into the meta to try and replace the MP5, because I think the 10mm attachment does improve it quite significantly, and the Growl, of course, the .41 caliber rounds aren't banned as of yet or anything like that, or I think I said the Growl, I meant to say the Uzi, you know what I mean. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts. Also, just quickly mentioning this from TeamSpeak, we're very proud to announce we are the official broadcast communications partner of the CoD League. So yeah, they're using TeamSpeak. I don't know, I've used TeamSpeak in the past, now a lot of people use Discord, but yeah, it seems like TeamSpeak's going to be the go-to for the CoD League going forward, so intriguing to see this announcement given all the other software that's now available out there. TeamSpeak kind of an OG in the scene, to be honest. And just to finish off with this unbelievable clip I saw from Nox here on Twitter regarding getting shot through walls, not just on AZK, which we talked about a while ago, but also on Ramaza. Like, if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you next time.